Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Eat, Breathe, and Pray. It is Thursday, the 15th of May of 2025, and it is currently 6:06 a.m. here on the East Coast of the United States of America, and we are here for our Through the Bible in 1 Year reading. Today is day 135 of Through the Bible in 1 Year, and today we'll be reading from 2 Samuel chapters 15 through 19. So if you have your Bible there, grab it so that you can read along. And if for whatever reason you do not have a Bible, you are unable to get one for yourself, please let us know. You can private message us and we will make arrangements to get a Bible to you. It's vitally important that you have the Word of God available to you so that you can be in the Word, not just daily, but several times throughout the day. As often as you're putting food into your body, you need to be putting spiritual food into yourself, so that you can thrive, grow and thrive and be strong in your spiritual life. The other thing that we need every day for our spiritual life is the air that we breathe. And just as we breathe in the natural, we breathe him in the spiritual. But when we focus on our breath, when we focus on his presence, and what's the word? Deliberate about our breathing, deliberate about our time that we spend in his presence, focusing on him, focusing on his voice, focusing on his face, focusing on his heart and soul. Then we get to know him, and our relationship with him grows. And it is our relationship with him that is the most important aspect of our spiritual life and our spiritual walk. So this morning, before we even think about getting into his word, let's take a moment just to be still in his presence, to focus our attention on him. Start by just stilling yourself. Still your body. Take a big deep breath. And as you exhale, just allow your body to come to a place of stillness. Your muscles to relax. All the tension to ease out of your body. So there's no extraneous movement, no fidgeting, no wriggling, nothing that will distract you from his presence. Allow your breathing to slow and become deeper. And as you do, your heart rate will begin to slow. And while you're focused on stilling your body, take this opportunity to present your body to him as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable in the beloved. This is where our daily service of worship begins. And allow the stillness in your body to inform the rest of you that it's time to become still, to still your thoughts, thoughts of the future, thoughts of the past, and those thoughts in the moment that would pull you away from his presence. Did you think of? Did you see? Did you check? Gather all of those thoughts up, take them captive, and place them in the hands of Yahweh. And everything that is weighing upon your heart, that's vying for emotional space in you, gather up all those things as well, the positive and the negative alike, and place them in his hands also. And entrust all of those things to him who is able to care for what concerns you, to him who is at work on your behalf, even when you're sleeping. And enter into his presence with praise and thanksgiving on your lips, and awe and wonder in your heart as you seek his face, as you listen for the beat of his heart, as you listen for his voice. And from this place of his presence, where there is joy forevermore, let's hear the word of Yahweh. 2 Samuel chapters 15 through 19. Now it happened afterwards that Absalom prepared for himself a chariot and horses, and 50 men as runners before him. And Absalom used to rise early and stand beside the way to the gate. And when any man had a case to come to the king for judgment, Absalom would call to him and say, "From what city are you?" And he would say, "Your servant is from one of the tribes of Israel." And Absalom would say to him, "See, your words are good and right, but no man listens to you on the part of the king." Then Absalom would say, "Oh, that one would appoint me judge in the land. Then every man who has any case or judgment could come to me, and I would justify him." And when a man came near to prostrate himself before him, he would send forth his hand and take a hold of him and kiss him. And he would, and in this manner, Absalom dealt with all Israel who came to the king for judgment. So Absalom stole away the hearts of the men of Israel. Now it happened at the end of 40 years that Absalom said to the king, "Please let me go and pay my vow, which I have vowed to Yahweh in Hebron. For your servant vowed a vow while I was living at Gershon in Aram, saying, 'If Yahweh shall indeed bring me back to Jerusalem, then I will serve Yahweh.' And the king said to him, 'Go in peace.' So he arose and went to Hebron. Then Absalom sent spies throughout all of the tribes of Israel, saying, 'As soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, then you shall say, Absalom is king in Hebron.' Now 200 men went with Absalom from Jerusalem, who were invited, and went innocently, and they did not know anything. And Absalom sent for Ahithophel, the Gilonite, and David's counselor from his city, Gilo, while he was offering the sacrifices, and the conspiracy was strong, for the people increased continually with Absalom. Then an informant came to David, saying, "The hearts of the men of Israel have followed Absalom." So David said to all of his servants who were with him in Jerusalem, "Arise and let us flee, for otherwise there will be no escape for us from Absalom. Go in haste, lest he overtake us hastily and drive calamity on us and strike the city with the edge of the sword." Then the king's servant said to the king, "Behold, your servants are ready to do whatever my lord the king chooses." So the king went out and all of his household with him, but the king left 10 concubines to keep the house. And the king went out, and all of the people with him, and they stopped at the last house. Now all his servants passed on beside him, all the Cherethites and the Pelethites, and all the Gittites, 600 men who had come with him from Gath, passed on before the king. Then the king said to Ittai the Gittite, "Why will you go out with us? Return and remain with the king, for you are a foreigner and also an exile. Return to your own place. You came only yesterday, and shall I today make you wander with us, going about while I go where I go? Return and cause your brothers to return. Loving kindness and truth be with you." But Ittai answered the king and said, "As Yahweh lives, and as my lord the king lives, surely wherever my lord the king may be, whether for death or for life, there also your servant will be." So David said to Ittai, "Go and pass over." So Ittai the Gittite passed over with all of his men and all the little ones who were with him. While all of the country was weeping with a loud voice, all of the people passed over. The king also passed over the brook Kidron, and all of the people passed over toward the way of the wilderness. Now behold, Zadok also came, and all of the Levites with him, carrying the ark of the covenant of God. And they set down the ark of God, and Abiathar came up until all of the people had finished passing from the city. Then the king said to Zadok, "Return the ark of God to the city. If I find favor in the sight of Yahweh, then he will cause me to return and show me both it and his habitation. But if I should say thus, I have no delight in you," but if he should say thus, "I have no delight in you," behold, here I am, let him do to me as seems good in his sight. The king said also to Zadok the priest, "Are you not a seer? Return to the city in peace, and your 2 sons with you, your son Ahimaaz and Jonathan, the son of Abiathar. See, I am going to wait at the fords of the wilderness until word comes from you to inform me." So Zadok and Abiathar returned the ark of God to Jerusalem and remained there. But David went up the ascent of the Mount of Olives and wept as he went, and his head was covered, and he was walking barefoot. And all of the people who were with him each covered his head and wept, and went up weeping as they went. So David informed them, saying, "Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom." And David said, "O Yahweh, I pray, make the counsel of Ahithophel foolishness." Then it happened that as David was coming to the summit where he used to worship God, that behold, Hushai the Archite met him with his coat torn and dust on his head. And David said to him, "If you pass over with me, then you will be a burden to me. But if you return to the city and say to Absalom, 'I will be your servant, O king, as I have been your father's servant in time past, so I will now be your servant,' then you can thwart the counsel of Ahithophel for me." Are not Zadok and Abiathar the priests with you there? So it shall be that whatever you hear from the king's house, you shall inform Zadok and Abiathar the priests. Behold, their 2 sons are with them there, Ahimaaz, Zadok's son, and Jonathan, Abiathar's son, and by their hand you shall send me everything that you hear. So Hushai, David's friend, came into the city, and Absalom came into Jerusalem. Now David had passed a little beyond the summit, and behold, Ziba, the young man of Mephibosheth, met him with a couple of saddled donkeys, and on them were 200 loaves of bread and 100 clusters of raisins and 100 summer fruits and a jug of wine. And the king said to Ziba, "Why do you have these?" And Ziba said, "The donkeys are for the king's household to ride, and the bread and summer fruits for the young men." Summer fruits for the young men to eat, and the wine for whoever is faint in the wilderness to drink. Then the king said, "Where is your master's son?" And Ziba said to the king, "Behold, he is staying in Jerusalem, for he said, 'Today the house of Israel will return the kingdom of my father to me.'" So the king said to Ziba, "Behold, all the belongings of Mephibosheth is yours." And Ziba said, "I prostrate myself. Let me find favor in your sight, O my lord the king." And King David came to Bahurim, and behold, there came out from there a man of the family of the house of Saul, whose name was Shimei, the son of Gera. He came out cursing continually as he came, and he also threw stones at David and at all of the servants of King David, and all of the people and all of the mighty men were at his right hand and at his left. And thus Shimei said when he cursed, get out, you man of bloodshed and vile fellow. Yahweh has returned upon you all the bloodshed of the house of Saul, in whose place you have reigned. And Yahweh has given the kingdom into the hand of your son Absalom. And behold, you are taken in your own evil, for you are a man of bloodshed." Then Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, said to the king, "Why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me pass over now and remove his head." But the king said, "What have I to do with you, O sons of Zeruiah? If he curses, and if Yahweh has told him, curse David, then who shall say, why have you done so?" Then David said to Abishai and to all of his servants, "Behold, my son, who came forth from my body, seeks my life. How much more now this Benjamite? Let him alone and let him curse, for Yahweh has told him." Perhaps Yahweh will look on my affliction and return good to me instead of this cursing this day. So David and his men went on the way, and Shimei went along the hillside parallel to him and said, and as he went, he cursed and cast stones and threw dust at him. Then the king and all of the people who were with him arrived weary, and he refreshed himself there. Now Absalom and all of the people, the men of Israel, had entered Jerusalem, and Ahithophel with him. And it happened that when Hushai the Archite, David's friend, came to Absalom, that Hushai said to Absalom, "Long live the king, long live the king." And Absalom said to Hushai, "Is this your loving kindness to your friend? Why did you not go with your friend?" Then Hushai said to Absalom, "No, for whom Yahweh this people and all of the men of Israel have chosen, his I will be, and with him I will remain. Besides, whom shall I serve? Shall I not serve in the presence of his son? As I have served in your father's presence, so I will be in your presence." Then Absalom said to Ahithophel, Give your advice. What shall we do? And Ahithophel said to Absalom, Go into your father's concubines, whom he has left to keep the house. Then all Israel will hear that you have made yourself odious to your father. The hands of all who are with you will also be strengthened. So they pitched a tent for Absalom on the roof, and Absalom went in to his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. Now the counsel of Ahithophel, which he counseled in those days, was as if one asked the word of God. So was all of the counsel of Ahithophel regarded by both David and Absalom. Then Ahithophel said to Absalom, Please let me choose 12,000 men that I may arise and pursue David tonight. And I will come upon him while he is weary, with his hands falling limp, and throw him into utter fright, so that all of the people who are with him will flee. And then I will strike down the king alone, and I will cause all of the people return to you. The return of everyone depends on the man you seek. Then all of the people will be at peace. And the word was right in the eyes of Absalom and all of the elders of Israel. Then Absalom said, Call now Hushai the Archite also, and let us hear what is also in his mouth. Then Hushai came to Absalom, and Absalom spoke to him, saying, Ahithophel has spoken thus. Shall we carry out his word? If not, you speak. And Hushai said to Absalom, This time the counsel that Ahithophel has counseled is not good. Then Hushai said, You know your father and his men, that they are mighty men, and they are bitter of soul, like a bear robbed of her cubs in the field. And your father is a man of war and will not spend the night with the people. Behold, he has now hidden himself in one of the caves or in another place. And it will be, when he falls on them at the first attack, that whoever hears it will say, There has been a slaughter among the people who follow Absalom. And even the one who is a man of valor, whose heart is like the heart of a lion, will utterly melt. For all Israel knows that your father is a mighty man, and those who are with him are men of valor. But I counsel that all Israel be utterly gathered to you from Dan even to Beersheba, as the sand that is by the sea in abundance, and that you personally go into battle. So we shall come to him in one of the places where he can be found, and we will sit down on him as the dew falls on the ground. And of him and of all of the men who are with him, not even one will be left. If he withdraws into the city, then all Israel shall carry ropes to the city and will drag it into the valley until not even a small stone is found there. Then Absalom and all of the men of Israel said, The counsel of Hushai the Archite is better than the counsel of Ahithophel. For Yahweh had ordained to thwart the good counsel of Ahithophel, so that Yahweh might bring calamity on Absalom. Then Hushai said to Zadok and to Abiathar the priests, This is what Ahithophel counseled Absalom and the elders of Israel, and this is what I have counseled. So now send quickly and inform David, saying, Do not spend the night at the fords of the wilderness, but by all means cross over, lest the king and all of the people who are with him be swallowed up. Now Jonathan and Ahimaaz were staying at En-Rogel, and a servant woman would go and inform them, and they would go and inform King David, for they could not be seen entering the city. But a boy did see them and informed Absalom. So the two of them went quickly and came to the house of a man of Bahurim, who had a well in his courtyard, and they went down into it. And the woman took a covering and spread it over the well's mouth and scattered crushed grain on it, so that nothing was known. Then Absalom's servants came to the woman at the house and said, Where are Ahimaaz and Jonathan? And the woman said to them, They have crossed the brook of water. And when they searched and could not find them, they returned to Jerusalem. Now it happened after they went away that they came up out of the well and went and informed King David. And they said to David, "Arise and cross over the water quickly, for thus Ahithophel has counseled against you." Then David and all of the people who were with him arose and crossed the Jordan. And by dawn, not even one remained who had not crossed the Jordan. Now Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed. So he saddled his donkey and arose and went to his home, to his city, and set his house in order and strangled himself. Thus he died and was buried in the grave of his father. Now David came to Mahanaim, and Absalom crossed the Jordan, he and all of the men of Israel with him. And Absalom set Amasa over the army in place of Joab. Now Amasa was the son of a man whose name was Ithri the Israelite, who went in to Abigail, the daughter of Nahash, sister of Zeruiah, Joab's mother. And Israel and Absalom camped in the land of Gilead. Now it happened that when David had come to Mahanaim, Shobi, the son of Nahash, from Rabbah of the sons of Ammon, Machir, the son of Amiel, from Lo-debar, and Barzillai, the Gileadite from Rogelim, brought beds, basins, pottery, wheat, barley, flour, roasted grain, beans, lentils, roasted seeds, honey, curds, sheep and cheese of the herd, for David and for the people who were with him to eat. For they said, "The people are hungry and weary and thirsty in the wilderness." Then David numbered the people who were with him and set over them commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds. And David sent the people out, 1/3 under the hand of Joab, 1/3 under the hand of Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, Joab's brother, and 1/3 under the hand of Ittai the Gittite. And the king said to the people, "I myself will surely go out with you also." But the people said, "You should not go out, for if we indeed flee, then they will not set their heart on us. Even if half of us die, they will not set their hearts on us. But now you are worth 10,000 of us. So now it is better that you be ready to help us from the city." Then the king said to them, "Whatever is good in your sight, I will do." So the king stood beside the gate, and all of the people went out by hundreds and thousands. Then the king commanded Joab and Abishai and Ittai, saying, "Deal gently for my sake with the young man Absalom." And all the people heard when the king commanded all of the commanders concerning Absalom. Then the people went out into the field to meet Israel, and the battle took place in the forest of Ephraim. And the people of Israel were defeated there before the servants of David, and the slaughter there that day was great, 20,000 men, and the battle there was scattered over the whole countryside. And the forest devoured more people that day than the sword devoured. Then Absalom happened to meet the servants of David. Now Absalom was riding on his mule, and the mule went under the thick branches of a great oak, and his head caught fast in the oak. So he was left hanging between heaven and earth, while the mule that was under him passed onward. Then a certain man saw it. He told Joab and said, "Behold, I saw Absalom hanging in an oak." Then Joab said to the man who had told him, "Now behold, you saw him. Why then did you not strike him there to the ground? And I would have given you 10 pieces of silver and a belt." So the man said to Joab, "Even if I should receive 1,000 pieces of silver in my hand, I would not send forth my hand against the king's son. For in our hearing the king commanded you, and Abishai and Ittai, saying, 'Keep for me the young man Absalom.' Otherwise, if I had dealt treacherously against his life, and there is nothing hidden from the king, then you yourself would have stood aloof." Then Joab said, I will not wait around here before you. So he took 3 spears in his hand and thrust them through the heart of Absalom while he was yet alive in the midst of the oak. And 10 young men who carried Joab's armor gathered around and struck Absalom and put him to death. Then Joab blew the trumpet, and the people returned from pursuing Israel. For Joab restrained the people, and he took Absalom and cast him into a deep pit in the forest and set over him a great heap of stones, and all Israel fled, each to his tent. Now Absalom, in his lifetime, had taken and set up for himself a pillar, which is in the king's valley, for he had said, I have no son to preserve my name. So he named the pillar after his own name, and it is called Absalom's monument to this day. Then Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, said, Please let me run and proclaim the good news to the king that Yahweh has judged to save him from the hand of his enemies. But Joab said to him, You are not the man for the good news this day, but you shall proclaim the good news another day. However, you shall not proclaim the good news today, because the king's son has died. Then Joab said to the Cushite, Go tell the king what you have seen. So the Cushite bowed to Joab and ran. Now Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, said once more to Joab, But whatever happens, please let me also run after the Cushite. And Joab said, Why would you run, my son, since you will have no reward for going? But whatever happens, he said, I will run. So he said to him, Run. Then Ahimaaz ran by way of the plain and passed the Cushite. Now David was sitting between the 2 gates, and the watchman went up to the roof of the gate by the wall and raised his eyes and looked, and behold, a man running by himself. And the watchman called and told the king, and the king said, If he is by himself, there is good news in his mouth. And he came nearer and nearer. Then the watchman saw another man running, and the watchman called to the gatekeeper and said, Behold, another man running by himself. And the king said, This one also is bringing good news. And the watchman said, I see that the running of the first is like the running of Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok. And the king said, This is a good man and comes with good news. And Ahimaaz called and said to the king, Peace. And he prostrated himself before the king with his face to the ground, and he said, Blessed is Yahweh your God, who has delivered up the men who lifted their hands against my lord the king. Then the king said, Is there peace with the young man Absalom? And Ahimaaz said, When Joab sent the king's servant and your servant, I saw a great tumult, but I did not know what it was. And then the king said, Turn aside and stand here. So he turned aside and stood still. And behold, the Cushite arrived, and the Cushite said, Let my lord the king receive good news, for Yahweh has judged to save you this day from the hand of all of those who rose up against you. Then the king said to the Cushite, Is there peace with the young man Absalom? And the Cushite answered, Let the enemies of my lord the king and all who rise up against you for evil be as that young man. Then the king trembled and went up to the chamber over the gate and wept. And thus he said as he walked, Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, would I had died instead of you. Oh, Absalom, my son, my son. And that is the end. Oh, no, we've got one more chapter. Then it was told to Joab, Behold, the king is weeping and mourns for Absalom. And the salvation that day was turned to mourning for all of the people, for the people heard it said that day, The king is grieved for his son. So the people stole away to enter into the city that day, as people who are dishonored steal away when they flee in battle. But as for the king, he wrapped his face up. Then the king cried out with a loud voice, "Oh, my son Absalom! Oh, Absalom, my son, my son!" Then Joab came into the house of the king and said, excuse me, "Today you have shamed the faces of all of your servants who today have provided escape for your life and the lives of your sons and daughters, the lives of your wives and the lives of your concubines, by loving those who hate you and by hating those who love you. For you have informed all of us today, the princes and the servants are nothing to you. For I know this day that if Absalom were alive and all of us were dead today, surely then it would be right in your eyes. So now arise and go out and speak to the heart of your servants, for I swear by Yahweh, if you do not go out, surely not a man will pass tonight with you, and this will be of greater evil for you than all of the evil that has come upon you from your youth until now." So the king arose and sat in the gate. And they told all the people, saying, "Behold, the king is sitting in the gate." Then all of the people came before the king. Now Israel had fled, each to his tent. And it happened that all of the people were disputing throughout all of the tribes of Israel, saying, "The king delivered us from the hand of our enemies and provided us escape from the hand of the Philistines. But now he has fled out of the land from Absalom. However, Absalom, whom we appointed over us, has died in battle. So now why are you silent about having the king return?" Now King David had sent to Zadok and Abiathar, the priests, saying, "Speak to the elders of Judah, saying, why are you the last to have the king return to his house, while the word of all of Israel has come to the king, even to his house? You are my brothers, and you are my bone and my flesh. Why then have you been the last to have the king return?" And say to Amasa, "Are you not my bone and my flesh? May God do so to me, and more also, if you will not be commander of the army before me continually in place of Joab." Thus he inclined the hearts of all of the men of Judah as one man. So they sent word to the king, saying, "Return you and all of your servants." The king then returned and came as far as the Jordan, and Judah came to Gilgal in order to go to meet the king, to cause the king to pass over across the Jordan. Then Shimei, the son of Gera, the Benjamite, who was from Bahurim, hurried and came down with the men of Judah to meet King David. Now there were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him, with Ziba, the young man of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons and his 20 servants with him, and they rushed to the Jordan before the king. Then they kept passing over the ford to cause the king's household to pass over and to do what was good in his sight. And Shimei, the son of Gera, fell down before the king as he was about to pass over the Jordan. So he said to the king, "Let not my lord consider me guilty, or remember what your servant did wrong on the day when my lord the king went out from Jerusalem, so that the king would take it to heart. For your servant knows that I have sinned. Therefore, behold, I have come today, the first of all of the house of Joseph, to go down to meet my lord the king." But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, said, "Should not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed the anointed of Yahweh?" And David then said, "What have I to do with you, O sons of Zeruiah, that you should this day be an adversary to me? Should any man be put to death in Israel today? For do I not know that I am king over Israel today?" And the king said to Shimei, "You shall not die." Thus the king swore to him. Now Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, had come down to meet the king, and he had not done anything for his feet, nor done anything for his moustache, nor washed his clothes. From the day the king departed until the day he came home in peace. Now it happened, when he came from Jerusalem to meet the king, that the king said to him, "Why did you not go with me, Mephibosheth?" So he answered, "O my lord the king, my servant deceived me. For your servant said, I will saddle a donkey for myself, that I may ride on it and go with the king, because your servant is lame. Moreover, he has slandered your servant to my lord the king. But my lord the king is like the angel of God. Therefore, do what is good in your sight. For all of my father's household was nothing but men worthy of death before my lord the king. Yet you set your servant among those who ate at your own table. What right do I have yet that I should complain any more to the king?" So the king said to him, "Why do you still speak of your affairs? I have decided you and Ziba shall divide the land." And Mephibosheth said to the king, "Let him even take it all, since my lord the king has come in peace to his own house." Now Barzillai the Gileadite had come down from Rogelim, and he passed over the Jordan with the king in order to send him off over the Jordan. Now Barzillai was very old, being 80 years old, and he had sustained the king while he stayed at Mahanaim, for he was a very great man. And the king said to Barzillai, "You pass over with me, and I will sustain you in Jerusalem with me." But Barzillai said to the king, "How long have I yet to live, that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem? I am now 80 years old. Can I know between good and bad? Or can your servant taste what I eat or what I drink? Or can I hear any more the voice of singing, men and women? Why then should your servant be an added burden to my lord the king? Your servant would merely pass over the Jordan with the king. Why should the king compensate me with this reward? Please let your servant return, that I may die in my own city, near the grave of my father and my mother. However, here is your servant, Chimham. Let him pass over with my lord the king, and do for him what is good in your sight." So the king answered, "Chimham shall pass over with me, and I will do for him what is good in your sight, and whatever you require of me I will do for you." Then all of the people passed over the Jordan, and the king passed over too. The king then kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned to his place. Now the king went on to Gilgal, and Chimham went on with him, and all of the people of Judah and also half the people of Israel accompanied the king. And behold, all of the men of Israel came to the king and said to the king, "Why had our brothers and the men of Judah stolen you away and caused the king and his household and all David's men with him to pass over the Jordan?" Then all of the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, "Because the king is a close relative to us. Why then are you angry about this matter? Have we eaten it all at the king's expense, or has anything been taken for us?" But the men of Israel answered the men of Judah and said, "We have 10 parts in the king. Therefore, we also have more claim on David than you. Why then did you treat us with contempt? Was it not our word first to have our king return?" Yet the words of the men of Judah were harsher than the words of the men of Israel. And that is the end of our reading for today. Join us again this afternoon at midday for the midday prayer focus, and at 4:30 this afternoon for the Bible study, and 7:30 this evening for the daily devotion. And in the meantime, go in the knowledge and the awareness of the presence of God with you, of his great love for you, and of his Holy Spirit dwelling in you. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for the people of Israel. Pray the promises and the prophecies of Scripture over them. And pray without ceasing for whatever it is that God has called you to, whatever he has given you influence over or authority over. Pray from that place of his presence, that place of stillness and rest, where you can hear his voice and know his heart, so that you know that what you're praying is coming straight from the heart of the Father. And be blessed and be a blessing.